welcome to Levels Plus Whenever, episode 69. And today we've got a lot on our docket. We've got predictions for 2023, as well as how well I did last year. We've got Dual Life Perspective Part 2 for 2022, and I've got a lot of pickups to share. We're going to do the predictions first, and then we'll throw the new things in the middle, and we'll end on Dual Life Perspective today. And I have reviewed my notes, or my video from last year, so I've got everything scribbled down. So we'll just go through this relatively quickly and see how well I did for 2022. Metroid Prime 4 is a no. HD Metroid Prime thing is a no. Fire Emblem Project. We actually got 2 announced in 2022. We got Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, and we got Fire Emblem Engage. One of which actually did release last year. Certainly not what I was predicting, though. I didn't necessarily predict that it was going to be an entirely new game. I didn't predict it was going to be a Warriors spin-off. But I'm gonna take it as a yes. Game Boy on Switch NSO is a no. A Mainline Mario is a no. A Xenoblade X Remaster is a no. Last Story Remaster is a no. Switch 2/Pro is a no. Random Nintendo Toy Hardware is a no. Earthbound announcements a yes. We got Earthbound Beginnings and Earthbound on NSO. I thought it was going to be a premium thing, like they would release it as a bundle and we'd have to pay for it, but nope, Nintendo decided to stop treating Earthbound as a premium franchise and gave it to us as just part of normal NSO, which was really nice of them. Capcom SNK reunite for a compilation. That did not happen, but they did reunite for SNK v Capcom Card Fighters Clash coming out through the Neo Geo Pocket Selection line, and they did make some crossover posters that were at EVO, which seems to hint at something more. We'll see about that. King of Fighters 15 for the Switch did not happen. Konami announces Castlevania That's Garbage. That did not happen. Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden come to Switch. That did happen, as well as Persona 5 Royal, which I thought it might not happen. Marvel's Capcom Revival did happen in the form of an Arcade 1-Up cabinet for MVC2. Pocky and Rocky 1+2 reprint did not happen. Skies of Arcadia HD did not happen. Square Enix, I said a bunch of things. Chrono Trigger did not happen. Chrono Cross did happen. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster got announced for consoles towards the end of the year, so that did happen. A Quentin Quadology. Well, we got ActRaiser Renaissance, or whatever they called the new game. I don't know if that came out in 2022, though. I don't remember. DNF Duel was a blowout surprise. Well, not quite. Actually, a lot of people thought it was dead until recently when they announced DLC was coming for it. In a Nomada Studio update we did not receive. So, that is everything for 2022. So what do I thinking about 2023? Well, I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to happen for real. At the very least, an update, if not a release window, maybe at the latter half of this year. It could be another 2024 postponement, but I'm just feeling that at the very least we're going to get something from Metroid Prime 4 this year. I also think that we'll get that Game Boy NSO update, and I think it's going to go through Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. We'll see. N64 was 2 years ago, and we went the entire month of December without a N64 update, probably because they thought that doing Mario Party 1 and 2 in November was good enough, but we know that there's another 5 or 6 N64 carts on the way. GoldenEye 1080, Excite Bike, the 2 Pokemon Stadiums, and Mario Party 6, if my memory's correct. So I have a feeling we'll be seeing the Game Boy getting an announcement in the fall. A Mainline Mario, yes, I kept that one on there as well. I think that we'll get at least a tease for a new Mario mainline game. And I also think that the Switch successor will probably be shown off in the fall. Zelda Wind Waker Twilight Princess will come to Switch probably in the fall. That just seems like an easy way to boost the lineup. And Tears of the Kingdom's coming out in May, so we don't really know what Nintendo's big holiday game is. So I'm just filling in gaps here. Another surprise collaboration with an indie dev. We had Cadence of Hyrule, which turned out really well. I'm wondering if Sheenan is going to get tapped to do a proper F-Zero sequel. I think that would be pretty cool because they've got it down with their Fast series. It'd be neat to actually see them do something official than just the homages they've been doing. Advance Wars finally comes out, probably at the end of the year. Splatoon 3 gets a surprisingly massive DLC with the Off the Hook campaign, whatever that transpires to be. More N64 games will include more stuff from Rare, so we will see Perfect Dark, Jet Force Gemini, and Blast Corps join up with GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie. And if I were to throw another one on there, it'd be Diddy Kong Racing, because that one logically makes sense. Donkey Kong 64 logically makes sense, as those are Nintendo IP. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there, if any of those come to pass. My big NSO guess, though, is that Nintendo will finally figure out the money it's going to take to get Square Enix on board. And once they do that, they will have a plethora of NES and Super Nintendo titles. They'll have a couple N64 titles that they could do. And if they follow through on the Game Boy, they'll have a whole bunch. The concern with that prediction is that Square Enix has been releasing a lot of their own game re-releases. So, like, the Final Fantasy games are now all getting remasters. Dragon Quest 1 through 3 already has mobile ports that are on the Switch. And like Tactics Ogre just got reborn, so to speak. ActRaiser got remade. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that they haven't done that's a little bit more on the obscure side. So, like Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen in 64, Chrono Trigger, King's Knight, and 3D World Runner, and Rad Racer 1 and 2. Mischief Makers is technically an Enix thing, and then there's Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia and Terranigma, and a whole bunch of other Enix things that haven't been re-released yet. So there's a lot of potential there if Square Enix actually were to sign up, even if it wouldn't necessarily be Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. Okay, that is the end of my Nintendo predictions. I've got Capcom vs. SNK collaboration again, because I really do think that's going to happen, at the very least an announcement. Getting Capcom vs. SNK 1, Pro, 2, and Chaos all into a compilation together would be amazing. And I would be okay with that if they didn't take it that next step to 3 or 2023 or whatever they want to call it. Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to have the island section of the game made DLC, and it's going to be an Ada campaign there instead of having it be in the main game. That is just my random prediction about Resident Evil 4. Konami comps continue to impress. I heard that Suikoden is going to be out in March, so I suspect that Castlevania will get the DS games ported, since Capcom proved that that is possible to do with ZX and ZX Advent. And then maybe they'll throw like Legends and Rebirth on there just to give it a little extra oomph, because there's only 3 games. And then I think they'll do something different. And I think like the most logical thing would be like Gradius, because there's 5 mainline Gradius games. Then there's Rebirth, and then you can throw Salamander in there, and then Gaiden. You have like a good 8 games there all by themselves. And then if they wanted to really go that extra mile, they could keep adding some of their more spacey shooters to that collection on top of that. Ideally, like the dream comp I have is the Cute 'em Up collection for Konami, which would include all the Twinbee games and all the Parodius games together as one set. But we'll see if that ever happens. I also think Symphony of the Night's going to finally make it to Switch somehow. I don't know how. I just think it's going to finally happen. Pocky and Rocky 1+2 reprint. Yes, I put that back down because I think Reshrined did well enough to indicate that there is some interest in that game. Tango Project has confirmed that there is an announcement coming this year. It's probably something as simple as it's coming to PC or something like that. But my hope is that they will work with Strictly Limited to get a cart version or a compilation of those two games, or even go the extra step and get more involved, get the arcade game, get the Famicom Disk System, Kikikakai, get those two Super Nintendo games, and throw Pocky and Rocky with Becky on there, and just have the Kikikakai collection that just rules. Just to have all 5 of those there. That would be amazing. While on the subject of Taito, I think we'll get an announcement for Taito Arcade Memories V2, since they basically confirmed that they're doing more with the release of V1. I'll probably have an updated post on my wish list for that, since I did get a couple games off of there. Skies of Arcadia HD, because that dream will never die. Nomada Studio update, because that dream will never die. They've been busy porting Grease to HD consoles. So they just released it for PS5 and Xbox Series. So I'm hoping that they'll get to do something new. They're hiring people. I saw that. So my fingers are crossed that this is the year we'll see a little bit on what they're working on next. Chrono Trigger to consoles. Somehow, some way, just get Chrono Trigger on consoles, Square. This isn't too much of a prediction, because it's kind of been confirmed, but I think Tango Project will announce their 4th project, which will definitely be Shadow of the Ninja, but it's going to be a huge update. It's going to be more than just the remake, remaster route. It's going to be a big change. And then another arcade titan will release a mini arcade unit like Sega and Taito have done recently with their little minis, and I think it's going to be Namco. Bandai Namco has such an extensive history in terms of their arcade titles that would easily match up to the breadth of Sega or Taito and be like 40-50 games and could be expandable without any problems. Okay, well, we'll see how many of those I get right in a year's time. But for now, we're going to go ahead and switch over to my pickups. I got some My Nintendo rewards. I got the 8 Melodies notebook from Earthbound Beginnings. So there's some pages with music notes, and then there's some blank pages a little bit later on. And then I also got the Earthbound keychain license, or luggage tag, I think is the official categorization for it. But the big thing that I got was my birthday present from my parents, who were kind enough to order me 7 books related to my research. So I've got Gaming Representation, Race, Gender, and Sexuality in Video Games, which is edited by Jennifer Malkowski and Therandria M. Russworm. I've got Ready Player 2, Women Gamers and Designed Identity by Shira Chess. Power Up, How Japanese Video Games Gave the World an Extra Life by Chris Kohler. Fight Magic Items, The History of Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and the Rise of Japanese RPGs in the West by Aidan Moher. Watch Me Play Twitch in the Rise of Game Live Streaming by T.L. Taylor. Gamer Girls, 25 Women Who Built the Video Game Industry by Mary Kinney with illustrations by Selene Piera. And Japanese Video Game Obscurities from Hardcore Gaming 101 and Kurt Kalata. These are all fantastic. Just flipping through them real quick before I started recording, and now I'm getting to the point that I'm going to need to scoot my books into 2 areas. because the research volumes are starting to take up quite a bit of space next to the art books and such. I've already had to separate the strategy guides out. But I think I'll be rearranging my room a little bit tomorrow once I really get down to it to put these away. Alright, I got a few more pickups since I recorded the first part, so we'll touch on those real quick. I got the Sephiroth amiibo. Probably one of the coolest ones they've made, honestly. Like, the detail on it is impressive, and I'm having a hard... There we go. Camera is a little lower than I'd like it to be, but he's just really cool looking. Like, it's just incredibly detailed. They've been getting really good with the amiibo lately. And then I also picked up the Ms. Marvel MCU show figure since it was there at Target while I was shopping. That should be it for this particular episode. Barring any other weird shooting mishaps. So let's move into the dual life perspective finally after a quick cat check-in. Alright, let's get into the dual life perspective, and we'll start with the games piece. Both the cats are active, so I've done my best to soundproof them, so that way they're not just coming in and screaming loudly into the microphone. But there's a possibility that there might be some rain noise, or the occasional really shrill meow, and I apologize for that. I just feel like recording right now, and then that's just the nature of having animals. Anyway, July, I played Fighter's History, which is a Data East Super Nintendo knockoff of Street Fighter 2, and it's alright. I mean, I played as Ryoko, I got all the way through it, it was okay. I don't have really any positive or negative thing to say about it, because it was just that mediocre. August, got through 3 games. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, finally beat that after about a month and a half of working on it. I think that Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes is extremely good if you stick to a single route and don't start exploring some of the other options. I went through Scarlet Blaze, got Byleth, and thought that the story was pretty good. And Shez was a fantastic new addition. The gameplay, probably the best of all the Warriors games with Nintendo. And I got to hang out with some of my absolute favorite characters in video games in a slightly different context. So that one, on the whole, went really well. It's when you don't get Byleth that the story just kind of bottoms out and goes into weird places that don't logically make any sense. That I found myself with some more serious issues. I've also heard that the Blue Lions route just does some really nasty things, and I don't, again, want to play that. I didn't choose to play that in 3 houses. I did Golden Deer and Black Eagles, but not Blue Lions. And I haven't done the Golden Eagles route yet. I've heard that it's fine, but at the moment I'm pretty okay hanging out with the one route that I actually really liked. And just ignoring everything I watched Keita Nash do related to the non-Byleth route. Wave Race 64. This actually ended up getting into my top 111 after playing it on NSO. Just a fantastic racing game that holds up. The graphic overhaul looks pretty solid for NSO. They've seemingly gotten through a lot of those initial N64 emulation hiccups. And I got all the way through Expert. So I can say I beat the game fully. That is not to say I beat the game fully without cheating. Because I rewinded a lot to get to get through expert. But I don't care. I have all the tracks now. I'm happy. I also got through Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the arcade, but I didn't do it without played it on God mode. I just didn't feel like dealing with arcade beat 'em up guidelines in terms of having to feed a whole bunch of credits into the thing. But it's still a solid, fun romp. I liked the Ninja Turtles beat 'em ups. I still need to get through Turtles in Time, but I was a little distracted by Shredder's Revenge coming out a little bit later, and didn't want to just completely have my entire list be full of Ninja Turtles games. It's already got 3. Moving into September, I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters for the Super Nintendo as Asuka. Easily Konami's best effort in the fighting game arena. That is just an area they never quite got right, but I will say that Tournament Fighters for the Super Nintendo is perfectly adequate and fun. It's not going to like rock your socks or anything, but it is definitely better than Fighter's History by a country mile. And it's very engaging. I need to try the NES and Genesis versions, which are very different. It's definitely one of those cases where they just didn't have any consistency in between the various platforms, so each one has its own strengths and weaknesses, but the Super Nintendo one is by far the strongest with the fewest weaknesses. Splatoon 3, my game of the year. I got through the solo campaign in September. That was my priority, really, once that came out, and I'm still playing it. So, I'm enjoying the multiplayer immensely. I've had some extraordinarily good fun with Keita Nash and her community, as well as some other communities that I'm a part of, playing with them. And the solo campaign is the best at launch campaign that Splatoon's ever had. And there's some absolute musical bangers on that solo campaign. I was reminded of that recently. It's just really a really good game. And I'm looking forward to seeing more maps and more content come to it over the next year and 9 months. I played the arcade version of Street Fighter Alpha 3 via Capcom Arcade Stadium 2. It's weird that that is out on 2 different things now, and we still don't have the full Street Fighter Alpha 3 experience on anything beyond the PSP. Or even the Dreamcast version on modern consoles. It's really disappointing because the arcade version of Alpha 3 is missing like 12 characters, if not more than that. And while it's still a great game, it's not the best version of the game, and Capcom seems really reluctant to release it. But I still enjoy playing through it as Cammy. It's one of my favorite versions of Cammy, along with Marvel 2. I also got through Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters with Proto Man playing Roll's Route, and that was a really good time. I think that's the better of the 2 Mega Man arcade fighter / brawlers. I don't really know what to call those games, but playing as Proto Man's a great time. It was the first time he was playable in the series, way before Mega Man 9 and 10 made him a playable character. And they're fun. I'm glad that they're on Arcade Stadium too. In October, I got through Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which is the best Ninja Turtles game. I am just still in shock at how good Tribute made that game and managed to overcome its inspiration. Konami's beat-em-ups are great. Shredder's Revenge is better. And I highly recommend picking that up if you haven't yet. If you like beat-em-ups, if you like arcade-style gameplay, or you like the Ninja Turtles, I mean, you're gonna win in either of those 3 camps. November, I got kind of obsessed with Mario Golf Super Rush. I don't know how that happened. I really don't. I got through Golf Adventure in its entirety in November. Camelot has lost their way in some ways. I really feel like beginning with the Wii U, with whatever the Mario Tennis game was for that, they just don't visually impress. Their gameplay isn't as tight or as intuitive. The music isn't as inspired. And unfortunately, Mario Golf Super Rush continues that trend. I think Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, if it was HD-ified, would look better than Super Rush. And there's a good 10-15 years of difference between those two releases, so that's kind of a problem. Despite the lots of unlockable courses that came out through free DLC, there's a lot of content there, but some of it feels pretty samey. The game is optimized for speed golf, which is not as fun for me as playing just default golf. The second meter, I still haven't quite mastered how that works. I don't think there is a mastery to it other than controlling the arc of your shot, but it just seems weird that that's how they did that. So I enjoyed my time with Mario Golf Super Rush, but I really wish it was better. I wish that it looked better. I wish that it played better. I wish that it was clearer, that the story mode had more chops to it. It really felt like you were just playing a standard golf adventure, and then all of a sudden the last fourth of the story mode just goes into here's a whole bunch of stuff. We ran out of time. That's what it really feels like. Like they just compressed the last 2-3 courses into a really condensed format to get the game out. And I really think Nintendo needs to stop doing that with some of their B-tier games. They need to just let those have the time to be as polished as their A-tier games. Because Super Rush is a good game, but it could have been the best Mario Golf game, and it's still not. In December, I played Elevator Action Returns twice in 2 different ways. So, I played the arcade version via the Egret 2 Mini and the S-Tribute version that City Connection released recently. And I made a video of that. So, I'll just let that speak for itself, but both of them are fantastic, and I love them. I have to let you in on a little secret, and that is I have expanded the rosters of my NES, Super NES, and Genesis minis. I have never been a big emulation person, but I don't think that we're going to see a second NES Mini or a second Super Nintendo Mini, and the Genesis Mini 2 is got a lot of great stuff, but what really got me was there was no Battle Mania, and I really wanted to play those, and you can via emulation. So I did mod all of those, and I was able to play Power Blade, which is a game I played when I was very young, and I loved replaying it. I think it holds up pretty well. It's definitely a little NES hard at points, and it's a little less polished and refined like Mega Man or Castlevania, but it is a really good game. It's probably Natsume's, well, I can't even say that. It's Taito's best NES game in a lot of ways, in my opinion. Natsume built the core, but Taito USA actually modified it really heavily to make it into Power Blade. And unfortunately, they were not able to do that with Power Blade 2, so it's really just what Natsume came up with, and it's just not as good. I played it for 5 minutes, and I was like, this doesn't feel good. So, it was great to be able to revisit Power Blade after all these years. I dove back into Capcom Arcade Stadium 2 a little bit more. I tried out Capcom Sports Club, and I beat basketball and tennis. You do not need to do that. unless you are super into sports games and just want to see Capcom's attempt to do so. But it's kind of like I was saying with Konami and fighting games earlier. Capcom's tried to do sports games a few times, and they just can't quite make it work very well. And Sports Club is fine, but it's not anything to write home about. It's not anything to go, oh wow, that came out finally. Like Aliens vs. Predator would be such a big deal if that came out suddenly. But Capcom Sports Club, I actually stopped playing the baseball mode, I think is the last one, because I just got bored. Street Fighter Alpha 2, I played that with Sakura, and that was also through Arcade Stadium 2. And unlike Alpha 3, playing Alpha 2 in the arcade is totally fine. It's probably the best way to play outside of Gold, which is difficult to get a hold of on a modern system anyway. Since I missed out on Alpha 2, it's like I played Street Fighter Alpha, and then I got Alpha 3 for the Dreamcast. I never really played Alpha 2, so I don't have the resonance or the respect that a lot of other Street Fighter fans have for Alpha 2, because Alpha 2 was, like, in some people's opinion, the best of the Alpha series. And I still feel Alpha 3 is, but I do appreciate Alpha 2 a lot more after this last playthrough. It was just good to be able to come to terms with that. Sometimes it takes me a few times of playing a game to actually get there. I did the same thing with Mega Man X, oddly enough. It took me a few times to actually get to that point where I'm like, yo, this is rad. And I could say that about Alpha 2 now. It's not a top 111 level of rad, but it's still really good. Last two games for December were from the Egret 2 expansion, Taito Arcade Memories Volume 1. So I got through Pulirula, which is a surreal beat-em-up. I think it's Taito's best beat-em-up on their long history of making them that I have played so far. It's weird. It's very out there. It's not very deep. So it's kind of like you're in it for the experience of playing it, for the visuals and the music and the weirdness, more so than the gameplay and mechanics. But I didn't think it played poorly at all. I thought it played really well, despite it being on the simplistic side. And outside of a couple little things that could be considered offensive these days, I enjoyed the game immensely. And I'm glad that it was on there. I'm glad that they were able to work out the licensing with the past employees to make it appear. I also got through Gladiator. I didn't expect to beat that, but they have a no-hit mode on the options for that. And that's the only way I think a person can beat that without intense memorization and practice. Let's get into the real part of the latter half of 2022, and I'll start with work, because that's like the first thing that leaps to mind, honestly. Change. That's been the big part of work in this latter half of 2022. My supervisor retired in June, and so now I have a new supervisor who's wonderful. Absolutely love working for her. But our boss's my boss's boss just also resigned at the end of December. So that is a lot, because we basically have to completely reconfigure the office, and that was a very stressful situation. I actually took 2 full weeks off work and then worked from home the last week of the year, because it was just like way too much. But everything else with work has been really good. I've got a great team that I'm really happy to work with, and I think that we're now in the stage of moving forward with some changes that we might not have been able to do if my boss's boss had not left. So it's pretty exciting in some ways. It's a little scary, but ultimately I think it's going to be really good. Had really good friendship stuff going on. I got to go see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever with some best friends that I typically go see Marvel stuff with, but it's been a long time, and that was wonderful to be able to hang out with them for a little while. I've got some really good friendships going on at work. I've got just a wonderful, wonderful relationship with my best friend. Even though she's no longer where I live, she moved somewhere else. We talk every day, and that's wonderful. It's really helpful for me to have somebody like that in my life that just kind of gets you. Like, the moment that you start talking to them, they're like, oh yeah, that's understandable. So, really happy with that. In terms of creativity, I got 2 books out in the latter half of 2022. I got the So This Webcomic Completish Collection and Develop 2. I didn't bring them out here to show them, but I will do probably a proper Develop 2, just a quick little flip through on the next episode of Levels Plus Whenever. And I went over So This Webcomic earlier. I'm very proud of So This Webcomic. That I did not realize how monumental that particular project has been for me until working on that book. And it came out to be close to 500 pages. It kind of reinvigorated my zeal for that comic, for those characters in a lot of ways, and my comic production has been pretty steady following its publication. In fact, I just published a couple this last week, and I'm wanting to draw some more when I get back into the office. So that's really cool. I'm really happy with both of those books, and I'm working on Femtendo 1987 right now. That's going to rival So This Webcomic turns to the biggest book I've ever put out. I think I've got the research done. But I need to buy 2 more games for the book before I publish it. One from Japan and one from America. And then I need to write a whole lot of stuff for it and then get the rest of the images into it. I've almost got that part done in terms of all of that, but I still need to do a little bit more with it before it's ready for prime time. And I'm thinking, at the rate I'm going to be having to write, it'll probably be this summer when that comes out. Isolate Volume 1, I'm also working on that, but not as seriously at the moment. I'm really pleased with the way that book's turning out so far. I'm using art from basically the entirety of the creation of this story instead of just having to draw everything new, which has really been a big help in getting some progress done on it, but there's some specific stuff that I want to do that I need to draw new stuff for. And I think that's kind of where I'm at the moment, is I don't want to progress too far without getting the book the way I want it to look. It's going to be kind of like a scrapbook journal type of thing, which is something I wanted it to be. I just haven't been able to make it so, but with InDesign I'm able to do that, and I'm really excited about it. So those are 2 of the projects I've got cooking. I've also decided to work on a limited editions club book for later in the year. That'll probably be the Thanksgiving book, and we'll see about that one. That one's going to be not too much work in terms of elaborating on the posts I've already done. I'm not probably going to be pushing for 4 books this year. I think those 3 will be the priorities for 2023. I might get some work going on the early history of women in video games before 1983, which I'm calling Femtendo 0 at the moment. I might change the name on that. That one needs a lot more research, though. I did a really good first pass, but there's been some news that has come out. Wabbit, in particular, is a really monumental game that I didn't cover at all in my initial work. And there was a lot about the creation of that game that I think is important to include in the book. So I'm glad I didn't publish it yet. But that might be in early 2024, which just sounds so weird. I'm still not accepted as 2023 yet. Oh, let's see. What else is going on? I suppose I should explain some things about the cats. You probably have noticed they're not in the videos as much as they used to be. And primarily what has happened is that with me returning to the office, I was working from home for about 2 years, thereabouts. Probably 2.5 would be a more accurate thing. And I think that the cats both got really comfortable and familiar with me being home all the time. And when I started going back into the office, I noticed that Finn's behavior was starting to get more aggressive. And Flavia was starting to get a lot more timid and hissing a lot. This all culminated in a big showdown that happened between them when I was gone at a sound meditation, where Finn managed to just tear into Flavia and left a pretty sizable wound right next to her butt, which is a great place for wounds, let me tell you. So I had to separate them. So Finn is now in his own space, and Flavia is in the rest of the house. I go in and check on him often, and he's actually gained weight. He's not anywhere near as aggressive. He's meowing a lot less. He's not throwing up as much. It seems to be helping his neuroses quite a bit, actually being on his own, which is good. And Flavia's doing a bit better. She's still got some food binging tendencies, where she overeats until she throws up. That is something I'll have to work with her on. But they're both healthier, I think, mentally, physically, and emotionally now that they're not together. And it's unfortunate that that's a side effect of the pandemic, is your pets just got used to you being around, and then you have to go back into the office, and that dynamic is something that's really difficult for them to adjust to. And I imagine that dogs in particular are dealing with it a lot worse. So I wanted to be completely open about what's going on with them. There will be photographs and occasional video of them, but not to the degree they're going to interrupt the video as much anywhere like it used to be on the show. So I just wanted to be clear. In terms of other things, my art, which I touched on a little bit with So This Webcomic, I'm really happy with where my art's at. I've done some really good creative stuff. The So This Webcomic book cover was a phenomenal project, which was multimedia. I had a acrylic painting of a stage, and then I did all of the art by hand, and then I colored it by computer, and then I put them all together, and then did some lighting with the computer. So it's a truly mixed media enterprise that I'm really, really happy with. The cover is a little bit darker than what my monitor was showing me, but I'm okay with it because it's supposed to be dark. It's the audience part is the stage. So on the whole, I think that's one of the best pieces I've done. I also did a couple other pieces I'm really proud of. The Raiko Kodama tribute piece for her passing of Fina turned out really well. I was really happy with that one. I got a new phone, which I need to get a case for still. It's a Samsung S20, so it has a much better camera, and so that has already redefined my book blog work. I had to basically start all the photos over. So you'll see the evidence of that in the first post of this year, with Gulliver's Travels over there. But it also takes really good photos in other areas, and it's kind of making me want to get some photo projects going that I haven't done in a little while. So there'll probably be some neat photo stuff going up on Visuals in the near future. Writing wise, the blogs have had some content. Levels Plus got a couple pretty decent articles on it. The Elevator Action Returns one I'm really happy with. That's definitely my best work in terms of writing on Levels Plus over the year. I still need to do the Mega Drive Mini 2 ranked. I haven't given myself that time to just sit down and fiddle with the machine yet. But I intend to very soon. And then trying to think what else. I have definitely felt more anxiety the last month or so. I'm not entirely sure why. I think there's a financial crunch happening that I can't fully control. I have a desire to move from where I'm currently at, but I don't have the money currently to make that move. I also need to get a new washer and dryer, which that's a big investment, and I haven't been able to really get anything moving on that front either. So one of the things that I'm going to be trying to focus on, especially in the latter half of this year, is trying to buy a lot less stuff. So the pickup piece of this show will be dialing back considerably, but I'm still hanging in there. And health-wise, I think I'm doing pretty good. I haven't got super sick. I do wear a mask still, and I think that helps a lot. Even if it's just a cloth mask, it's not the best mask that I could be wearing, but it does help, at least mentally, make me feel like I'm more protected. And I haven't had like a major illness. I was sick for 3 days with a moderate flu, I'm gonna guess, but other than that, it's been pretty decent. Some things I want to work on this year is definitely meditating. I fell off of that wagon really hard in 2022. I think that there's some stuff inside of me that I've been a little afraid of dealing with, and I want to lean into that uncomfortable feeling and figure out what's going on and make some progress towards being more mentally and emotionally sound. I'm doing pretty good, but there's still some stuff I would like to deal with on that front. But I think that's a pretty good overview of where my headspace is. We'll be back in a few weeks, probably to get into Fire Emblem Engage. Some impressions on that, as well as pickups, because I've got a few things coming in the mail. But until then, have a wonderful set of days until we meet again. And top 111 videos are coming out slowly but surely. There'll be another one a little bit later this week. I'm thinking about the Smash videos being a monthly thing. So Lynn came out a little earlier. Sorry if you didn't watch it yet. I spoiled who it is, but it was kind of apparent from the thumbnail, I like to think. The second one will be out in February. So, quick little end of video update on what's going on. Till the next time, friends. Take care. Portable, Persona 3 Portable and Persona Switch. Wow.